G'day chaps, 'tis I, ClownPuncher139. A lot of people tell me to play the Insomniac Spider-Man games because of all that I do with the Arkham saga. What these people still fail to realize is that I don't have a PlayStation!
You what?
And I probably won't for some time. Which is quite a shame because Insomniac is PlayStation exclusive, except for one little gem on the Xbox One, Sunset Overdrive. This is one of my favorite games of all time, and I am so happy you all picked this for the poll. So, for today's video, I ask, can you beat Sunset Overdrive as a minimalist? Much like Doom, Sunset Overdrive is all about quick movement and using a wide variety of weapons to mow down faceless drones after your booty. So today, I'm going to find out what happens when you strip all but one of those weapons away. The rules for this challenge are simple. I must beat the main campaign of Sunset Overdrive using only the game's first two weapons, the crowbar and flaming compensator. No other weapons, free from the game or otherwise, are allowed to be used. For the sake of being truly minimalist, I've implemented a few other rules I did my best to abide by. In defense missions, for instance, I will not be placing any traps in the base, or activating them if the game automatically has them in place. Furthermore, no amps or overdrives, just to make this that much more painful. With that out of the way, it's time to blast some OD with our lava penis. Let's go! As you'd expect, the intro to the game plays out exactly as normal. You only have the crowbar and the compensator for the entirety of Horror Night, so there's nothing to worry about so far. And the same can be said for One Man's Trash. Beginning plays out the same, just beat up the OD on the roof, then just grab some ammo for the compensator instead of using the high fidelity like the game intends. Follow Walter, buy the useless Dirty Harry, and kill some scabs with lava. But then we come to Amp It Up, which ends the run without a second thought. First, you have to equip amps, which already breaks the rules, but then you have to use those amps with another weapon. You're forced to use the roll amp against 8 OD, and then use the high fidelity to kill 15. After that, you're allowed to switch back to the compensator to finish the horde, but god is that annoying. So, no, you can't beat Sunset Overdrive as a minimalist. Vision mailed, video over, the rest of this is just credits. Okay, obviously I'm not stopping there. Let's unequip those amps and just get back to killing OD. The next mission is our first base defense mission, Amptastic. And man is this one hard! For a bit of context, I initially played this challenge with a few more rules in place. Namely, that I wasn't allowed to use the crowbar unless I was out of compensator ammo, and that I would reset missions if I ever died. I very much regret trying that because it led to a lot more frustration early game than I wanted. And in hindsight, they were pretty stupid rules that I really didn't have time to record with. I was using those rules for probably half of this playthrough, and then I decided to abandon them because I just didn't have the time. So keep that in mind for some of the following missions. Anyway, back to Amptastic. You'd think this wouldn't be so bad, what with me not being able to remove the traps Floyd already had in place. But I was playing with those stupid rules, so hell, anything goes, I guess. The biggest problem with base defending missions is that, generally, there are no ammo crates in the bases. We're lucky that the brewery has at least one, but for the rest of them going forward, there are none. So you're going in with whatever you brought with you, a single refill at the halfway mark, and only a chance at some ammo being dropped by the OD. There's guaranteed ammo if you can somehow beat a Herker or Spawner, but good luck beating those with just the friggin' compensator. The first phase was nothing too bad, but the second showed me just how chaotic these levels can get without amps and traps. Immediately, phase 2 spawns a Herker and poppers to go along with him. I needed to focus as much attention on the Herker as I could while keeping my limited barricades intact. To at least slightly assist in my endeavors, I used some of the explosive barrels scattered throughout the base, though they didn't really do much in the long run, because I ended up losing my barriers, leaving the horde right to the vat. Eventually, everything ended up right at the vat, including the Herker while I was probably on 1 HP and was out of ammo. Thankfully, there were only a few seconds left until the level was won, but I was caught in the midst of a bunch of OD losing health at a rapid rate. I really don't know what saved me here, but I was able to survive and beat the level, not even losing too many canisters. But if that was the easiest base defense, imagine what the others are going to look like. Next mission is A Way Out, which provided no challenge whatsoever. It's just killing a bunch of scabs, which are pretty weak to lava, it turns out. I got close to running out of ammo a few times, but there were plenty of crates on the overpass, so it was never a problem. But then came a new friend, which was not so easy. As I said, the biggest problem with the compensator is its limited ammo, which very much comes into play during this mission. Chasing down Sam doesn't really provide any challenge, nor do the blowers that show up after catching him. They go down in one hit. What poses the big threat is the massive horde that shows up when you get the TN Teddy. You're supposed to just spam this thing and kill all the OD instantly, but when you're stuck on the compensator, that's easier said than done. True, the compensator is pretty good for dealing with large groups. It is a shotgun after all, but it's far from perfect. And once you're out, you're out. There are not a lot of ammo crates in this area. So the best strategy is to wait for as many OD as possible to group up before taking them all down with a single shot. It's surprisingly effective, but this is still a massive horde to deal with, and you'll probably run out of ammo before it ends. The train ride at the end is uneventful, since you don't even have to shoot anything, and that's the mission. Definitely one of the unexpectedly difficult ones. And now we have to help a bunch of spoiled rich kids, starting with getting some crappy water for Dirk in Bora Bora water. This mission is completely uneventful. The only interesting thing is taking down the spawner, but even that doesn't really mean much because it's just the big enemy. Of course it's going to be a little difficult. But that was it, and we moved to Boo Boo Rover Drive, which is where we get into messy semantics. First, this mission introduces overdrives, which I previously said that I had banned. Well, the problem is that you're required to get an overdrive to complete the tutorial, and in getting it, you must equip it. And when you equip an overdrive, you can't unequip it like you can an amp. So basically, you're forced to purchase an overdrive and have it equipped for the entire game. However, I would like to point out that this overdrive does not affect the game at all. The overdrive you get merely increases style generation while you're grinding. But that literally doesn't matter to us at all because we never use style. You remember how I said A Way Out was uneventful? Well, that's because it normally gives you a free minute of the full style meter giving your amps maximum power. But that's all the style meter does, give you the ability to use amps. And since this run doesn't use amps, that max style meter was completely useless. And so is the meter to begin with, and thus this overdrive is completely useless. So, while it technically breaks the rules of the run, it doesn't break the spirit of the run, so I'm perfectly fine with it. But back to Boo Boo, and we see another semantics mess that I have to deal with. To get Boo Boo back to Margaret, we have to play fetch with it. And since player doesn't know anything but guns, he decides to play fetch with the kitty launcher, which is just the TN Teddy with a fresh coat of paint and a kitty doll. And you are completely forced into using it to escort Boo Boo home. You literally can't switch to another weapon or else Boo Boo will kill you. At least, supposedly, you literally aren't allowed to switch from the kitty cannon. This is another power trip segment, but you aren't allowed to do it in any other way. So this is another breach of the run and another failure. I'm not a fan of this outcome, but this is pretty much the last break of the rules we'll be getting this run. At least, I'm pretty sure that's it. I still haven't reviewed all the footage yet. Last but certainly not least of the spoiled brats is Max, who was right in the middle in terms of difficulty. You just have to climb a building and kill some scabs, but since scabs are weak to lava, it wasn't hard at all. What was hard was me trying to go fast and failing miserably. I'm not going to call the harpoons a break in the rules since I never use them to attack enemies, rather just progressing forward like you'd expect. The only time you supposedly need to use it on enemies is breaking down this barrier here, but you can just jump around and blast it with the compensator. Easy stuff. And also easy is Buck National versus the Apocalypse, the only time I get to see Buck in this run. There's not too much to talk about. You just need to get a bronze medal or better, which is stupidly easy. They honestly should have made it silver minimum. I got halfway to gold on my winning attempt. I say winning because I did die a few times while trying to call the train to progress, thus getting trapped between a bunch of OD and dying a painful death. And now we move on to Midnight Brew, a mission I made myself very familiar with while going for 100%. And I wasn't too confident after the mess that was Amptastic, because this is basically the same mission just with a lot more crap to deal with. Firstly, since I actually could this time, I removed all the traps Floyd had in place just to make the whole experience all the more hellish. Second, there's a lot more and a lot more different enemies. Before, we only had to deal with regular OD and poppers with a single herker at the end. This one, you get OD, poppers, blowers, and gunkers. You have to juggle all of them while a massive horde of OD swarms your barricades, taking them down dang near instantly without any traps to stop them. This mission took me 3 attempts, which is less than I thought, but only because I barely scraped by the skin of my teeth. I would generally run out of ammo before even passing a minute of time because there are so many OD and the special guys spawn almost instantly. First are the blowers, who really just make it difficult for you to survive. But then come the poppers, who make the barriers fall a lot faster and make me hate everything. They run incredibly fast and blend in with the regular OD, making them very difficult to hit. At the very least, if you do manage to shoot them, they'll take out a good number of OD themselves with their explosion. By the halfway mark's giant blast, both of my outer barricades were down, and my inner barricades had taken some decent damage. And now I had to deal with gunkers, which were really just in the same situation as blowers, more of a hazard to me than the base. And in some cases, they're kind of a blessing in disguise, because they can also explode and take out the OD themselves, like poppers. Just like the first wave, I ran out of ammo with over a minute left. Thankfully, like I mentioned earlier, there are some ammo crates right by the vat, which I was able to save until now. And that gave me more than enough to hold off the OD for the time to expire. Or rather, to reach less than 20 seconds, since they can't pull overcharge that fast. But that thankfully ended the mission without too many worries. But our troubles are not nearly over as we enter the finale of Act 1 up in the air and encounter the biggest problem of this challenge. Well, first we have to get the glide wheel back from some scabs, which is as easy as ever. They're just scabs after all. It's what we have to face after killing all the scabs. Our first Physco bots. The other big problem with the compensator, aside from its ammo, is that it does next to nothing to robots. Robots are basically immune to fire, so even the basic rifle bots take basically as many shots as a herker. On top of that, their rifles do ludicrous damage to us. So we do basically no damage to an enemy that can take us out in about 7 seconds. At this point in time, I was still playing with the stupid rule of no melee unless I was out of ammo, so I had to take these guys down with the compensator alone. At the very least, they do stumble back when you shoot them at close range, but to do that, you have to get close to a rifle that'll kill you in 7 seconds. Plus, there's always 3 of them on screen, meaning you have to keep moving to avoid damage and can't just focus your attention on one robot. On the bright side, there are a lot of ammo and health crates around the freeways, so I was able to always recover resources. It was also at this mission that I learned how much more effective melee is against these guys than the compensator. Seriously, they go down so much quicker to melee, it's not even funny. That became my go-to strategy later in the run. Shoot them once with the compensator to stumble them, then go ham with melee until they die. It's not a perfect strategy, as you'll see way later, but it's as good as we can get for now. The rest of this mission was uneventful. I'm not even going to talk about the glider section because it's pretty irrelevant, except that I thought I ran out of fuel right as I hit the final updraft, so I thought I was going to have to restart, but that didn't happen, so moving on. And now we move on to Act 2, starting with Big Trouble in Little Tokyo. Except this mission is nothing but navigation, so it doesn't matter for this challenge. So instead, we move on to another big roadblock. It's me, Fizzy. Let's go through the problems one at a time. 1. Blade bots. These are just as annoying as rifle bots, except that they also have a homing attack that I can never seem to avoid and pisses me off to no end. There's a lot of these guys with rifle bots as well, creating a hellish experience trying to climb to the top of the radio tower. Thankfully, you don't actually have to kill any of them to advance your way up, and can just shoot the transmitters to move forward. This works for the first 2, but then it's time to battle Fizzy. Normally, Fizzy is a really easy boss, since you can do loads of damage with the Dirty Harry. But since we don't have that weapon, this battle becomes a lot more difficult. And honestly, it would probably be pretty easy with literally any weapon aside from the compensator. As I keep saying, the compensator is a shotgun. Contrary to what some video games may tell you, shotguns have terrible range. And this is reflected very well in Sunset Overdrive to my own dismay. For most of the rails on this fight, you can't hit Fizzy. He's a lot bigger than the screen is giving him credit for. Like, from this angle, it looks like he's right on top of you, but he's actually ridiculously far away. You couldn't even reach the brim of his hat from the furthest rail with an optimized jump and air dash. So from here, the compensator does literally no damage unless he leans forward. And even then, you get barely a chip off of his health bar. So you have to jump out, dash towards him, and shoot to get even a tiny bit of damage in. Then you'll probably fall into the void and get portaled back. The optimal place for Fizzy to be is this section here on the right, because he's actually pretty close to the rails, meaning it's kinda possible to shoot him. You still do absolute pity damage, but it's something. The biggest thanks I can give this fight, though, is the fact that you actually have unlimited ammo. Yeah, for some reason, they just give you unlimited ammo for this fight. I'm not complaining, though, or I'd be out of ammo tenfold by the time Fizzy went down. Not too much else to say about this fight, just a lot of rinse and repeat. It was definitely fun, but extremely time-consuming. Seriously, a fight that normally lasts 2 minutes took over 10. Again, fun, but very time-consuming. Anyway, with that, we can move on to Hot Dog, which was pretty uneventful. Just have to go to the hot dog factory, kill some scabs, find Brokream's stuff, and move on. There was a little difficulty in finding the crane keys because the OD carrying them just wouldn't spawn until I took out the Fisco bots, but I was eventually able to get them. The Wrecking Ball section doesn't count against this challenge, just like the glider, don't at me. Find Forkham was also pretty easy up until the final chase scene. You can literally avoid all of the scabs leading up to the train station, then just start the train chase. It's a little difficult to shoot the train's boosters with just the compensator, well with a short range and all, but you have more than enough ammo to take them down. And now we come to Hepcat's Late Night Special, which was just painful. It's the second base defend mission, and so much harder in basically every way. First, you have to deal with 2 VATs instead of just 1. Second, you're in a corner spot, so have to deal with OD from 2 different angles. Third, you have a hell of a lot of OD, just like Midnight Brew. I really don't know how to describe it aside from pure chaos. Like, you get blowers within the first 15 seconds and a freaking herker within the first minute. Add on some poppers that just make everything more difficult, and this level is absolutely nuts. It was pretty much pure luck and checkpoint abuse that got me through. This was the level I decided to stop my reset the level after death roll because holy crap, this level was literally impossible otherwise. It's one thing that you have such limited ammo, but the fact that there are no traps to clean up after you makes it literally impossible. The traps are the only thing that lets you juggle the massive amounts of OD the game can throw at you. Without them, your base is a lamb to the slaughter. Even with the checkpoint, my base was raided in less than a minute, and the OD were able to remove 20 canisters in 30 seconds. Meaning, without that restart, they would have completely drained me with over a minute and a half left. Because by that point, they'd have already broken all my barriers and made their way right to the VATs, probably having taken some out in Phase 1 and finishing taking the rest before I even run out of ammo. It's ridiculously hard, which is why I had no choice but to abuse the checkpoints. Brokream was pretty easy. The only slight difficulty was climbing the satellite building because it had some robots guarding it. That took a bit, but the rest of the mission was super easy. Just kill some scabs and save Brokream from the garbage truck. Getting him back to the dojo is also easy, and now we move on to the fall of Emperor Norton and our second boss, Norton Dragon. And he was easy. Just follow him through the city, grind on his back, and use your melee weapon to take him down. Shooting the spikes on his back in Phase 2 and 3 isn't hard, even with the short range of the compensator, so this boss is pretty irrelevant, just like Norton as a character.
Emotional damage!
Act 3 begins with us going to Fogothia, which is just another travel mission and doesn't mean anything for this challenge. The King's Feast, on the other hand, is similarly ridiculous. It literally begins with us having to take down 2 Herkers!
Fuck!
They aren't really difficult, but they're certainly annoying because they take so damn long. I got it done, but then came the defending portion. Good lord, I don't even care about semantics for this part. I use the catapults without a second's notice. You can give me as much shite as you want in the comments, I know damn well this section would be ludicrously hard without the catapults that I didn't even bother. I'm on a tight recording schedule here, and I did not need to spend 2 hours listening to a bard sing about their psychologically damaged king. Especially because of the hordes we have to deal with and the very limited ammo we have. Within Phase 1, we already have to deal with a spawner, which would just take way too many shots for me to deal with alone. So the catapults are extremely useful. But that is nothing compared to Phase 2, which spawns a Herker at the minute-half mark. Unfortunately, I didn't see him spawn, so I couldn't use the catapult to take some good damage. He somehow snuck up on me and took out a ton of my health. Look at this! I'm literally on a sliver hoping to God that some health spawns. Meanwhile, also trying to lure the Herker over to the boathouse to get some catapult damage off of him. And keeping him away from my allies. I stay at such low health for so long, it's amazing that I don't die. Oh, and if one Herker wasn't enough, right after I defeated it, another 2 spawned right behind me, in a spot where the catapults were reloading so I couldn't get optimal damage off of them. Literally as soon as they leave range, the catapults are ready, and now I have to take down 2 Herkers and keep my allies alive or else restart the whole section. I fall to a sliver of health, yet again, and somehow survive. Despite the fact that there were no more health crates or even fodder OD to get some health from. So I had to completely avoid damage while taking out 2 Herkers! Thankfully, I was able to lure them towards the catapults and use them to help finish them off, but oh wait, that didn't happen, I died and I had to take them out all over again. At the very least, I didn't have to restart the section, I just had to clear out a small horde. And this time, I was able to keep them near the boathouse, so keep using the catapult to take them out. Good lord, this mission was stressful! Thankfully, the next mission was far from stressful. In fact, it was kinda relaxing to just burn some pigeons and taste like chicken. Honestly, I probably could have used the compensator for the entire roast, but I really just needed to hear the announcer say,
New mono ultra microscopic silico volcano psychedelic Niosis supreme maximum ultra combo! Ah, fuck, I forgot to say pigeon.
The ride back to Fargarthia was easy, just killing a few scabs along the way, and then we come to Bad Medicine, which was really freaking annoying. We have to get the medicine for Ignatius, but to do that, we have to kill a lot of Physco bots, including the brand new bomb bots. Though, those bots are actually the easiest to deal with, since they stumble much more than the blade or rifle bots and actually take fire damage. But this mission really shows how ineffective the compensator is against robots. It probably takes 10 shots of the compensator to take down just a rifle bot, when it'll take about 6 melee swings. Not only are the melee swings much faster, but they're more powerful. So that became my strategy to deal with bots from this point forward. Shoot them once with the compensator to stumble them, then just go ham with melee, hoping their allies won't shoot me while I'm at it. Even still, I took quite a few deaths in this section just because I was playing stupid. Not my finest moment, but I eventually got past it and could move on to the leech section. The floor is lava section played out as normal, but then I came to the final section with the fizzy balloons. The problem is that this, and I quote, is a Dirty Harry only challenge and the weapon wheel is disabled. So I'm forced to use the Dirty Harry to shoot down fizzy balloons. I don't know if this section would end if I just didn't shoot anything, but I highly doubt it, so I did have to break the challenge yet again. Very disappointing, but that's the game's fault, not mine. At this point, we know the challenge is already void, so I'm just doing the rest of this for fun. And my pain does not stop there, folks, because now we move on to Ferry to Nowhere, yet another base defense section. For this one, we're on a boat, and the OD have so many spawn locations, and I once again have no traps. Literally within 40 seconds, the horde is through the outer barricade and is about to reach my vat. And by the 2:30 mark, they're already attacking the vat. What surprised me though was the fact that there were very few special OD in Phase 1. There were a few poppers, but that's it. And speaking of, a popper blew the other side of the vat barricade, so now this vat was completely open for business. By the time I reached the blast, they'd already stolen 8 canisters, which did not bode well for the rest of this mission. Oh, and did I mention that Phase 2 literally starts with a Herker spawning halfway into your base and destroying a barricade instantly with nothing you can do to stop it? Fine. On the plus side, this means the Horde is only coming from this angle for the first bit of Phase 2, meaning I don't actually have to defend the vat that got breached. I did end up dying trying to take down the Herker, but in these missions, dying just means losing a little bit of overcharge. Unfortunately, when I died, a new horde began spawning from the sea and made their way to the vat, taking a lot of overcharge while I was respawning. This was actually even worse than I thought because the Herker horde had broken through and made their way to the upper vat and had started stealing overcharge too at an alarming rate. By the time I took down the Herker and got them all off the vat, I still had to survive another 45 seconds and there were only 2 canisters left. And somehow, I actually did it. I really do not know what happened, but I think the poppers actually helped a lot. Because look at the size of these hordes. There is no way I'd be able to take them all out with just the compensator. The poppers exploded and took out large portions of the horde, meaning I somehow won it. I still think it was dumb luck, but I'm going to call it unintended skill. Now we come to our next boss in the Siege of Wondertown Land. But first, we must retrieve the Fogothian figurehead from Lawrence the Leper. Well, that didn't last very long. Time to kill some muggers. These guys don't really mean anything in the long run. They just take 2 shots on the compensator and they're done. The only difficult part is finding them and getting close enough to shoot them, but even then, they have such a long attack animations that they'll practically never hit you. Especially since they stumble when you shoot them, so you can just shoot them again. Grab the figurehead, take it to Ignatius, and now we lay siege to Wondertown Land. And it is seriously stupid easy. It's just a bunch of scabs that all go down in one shot from the compensator. What do you expect? Well, that is until they bring in the battering ram. At that point, the best strategy is just to keep bouncing on the ram's bounce pad, shooting the fireballs down when they get close. When they take down the first gate, some scabs will try to stop you, but it's hardly difficult to just shoot them down. All you really have to worry about is running out of ammo, but there are plenty of ammo crates scattered around the pier. And that just leaves King Scab, who is also really easy. Shooting the fireworks is basically nothing, just be careful of the burning cars, and King Scab himself is also stupid easy. Just boost up to his car, shoot the back 3 times, be careful of fire, and get the figurehead to take him down. Super easy stuff. Slightly less easy is floating garbage. That doesn't mean it was hard, just really chaotic. It's a constant stream of blowers doing their damnedest to sink your ship, plus the introduction of wingers. Combine that with having to constantly stop shooting to grab trash and keep the ship afloat, and it's a pretty chaotic mission. The wingers aren't that bad if you place all your shots well, they go down in 2 just like the muggers. Strangely, the Herkers toward the end of the mission are pretty much a non-problem. They pose very little threat to the boat since they'll usually be targeting you, so just avoid them when getting trash. The ending was really chaotic, as there were probably at least 15 blowers, 2 Herkers, and 4 wingers in one area, quickly whittling the ship's health down before I threw some trash in to save it last second. But as soon as we pass the overpass, we're done and can move on to one of the hardest missions yet. A hero's duty is absolutely ridiculous. Firstly because we deal with literally nothing but Physco bots. Oh wait, that's the only reason, but it's a damn difficult reason. First, you have to defend the museum, of course by killing Physco bots. Like I've mentioned multiple times at this point, the compensator is practically useless against these guys, so just try to stumble them once, then use the crowbar to finish them off. It's so much faster and easier than constantly dodging and trying to shoot close range for max damage. You have to kill a lot of bots to progress, but thankfully there are some electric barrels to help in that endeavor. They'll stun the bots in place for a bit, meaning you can pick off some of their buddies without worrying about being shot. The museum ultimately isn't that bad. It took a little doing, but I was able to get it done. Now helping Sam, that's another story.
I welcome you, Death.
You may have noticed that Sam put out some traps to help. The game definitely expects you to use them, because good lord, the number of robots the game throws at you in this section is absolutely ludicrous! The first phase of blade, rifle, and bomb bots isn't too bad, but good lord, the final phase is absolutely horrible! The Fizco tank bot is basically just a robot herker, and it is dang near impossible to take out. It takes so little damage from the compensator, it's not even funny. And it'd be one thing if it was the tank bot alone, but no, the game goes ahead and throws a ton of other bots in my path as well, cause why not make me want to break my screen? There are so many factors making this bot so difficult in this area. There are so few health pickups and even fewer ammo pickups, meaning my resources are always super low. Sure, I could kill some straggler bots to get some of them, but to do that, I'd actually have to kill the straggler bots. Plus, the electric barrels barely stun the tank bot, and you can't exactly stumble that which resists your attacks to this degree. Oh, and did I mention that it has a shield that will block all attacks except from behind? Yep. Somehow, I was able to take it down without even using any of Sam's traps and was able to move on, but by God, this does not bode well for future missions. Speaking of, next we head downtown to find Las Catrinas. Again, just another traveling mission, so nothing to speak of there. Where we do speak again is Awesome Smithing, which is another ridiculously hard mission, at least in the beginning. We need to reach to the top of this high-rise and steal a sword from a Fizco exec. The problem is that there's a ton of Fizco bots guarding the building, making it dang near impossible to scale. Now, we have to kill a hell of a lot of Fizco bots before grabbing the sword, and considering how well the last time we had to do that went, you can guess how this mission goes. It's not easy to get all these bots down. As usual, it's smartest to just shoot them once to stumble them, then wail on them with melee until they explode. The hard part is the fact that there's a lot of bots, meaning any of them could sneak up on you for their own kill. At the very least, there's a lot of levels to this area, so more often than not, you'll only have to face a few at a time. When you do finally beat them all though, the hard part is actually over. Head over to the power plant to kill some OD, kill some more OD while messing with the controls, and then scale the tower. For some reason, the wingers at the top of the tower gave me way more trouble than I anticipated. They didn't take many shots, but they were just so evasive of my shots that it took forever. And after that, the mission's on easy mode. Take out the scabs at the water treatment plant, douse the sword, then head back to downtown for the most satisfying part of this run. Use Excalibune to absolutely slaughter these Fizco bots. And that's it. Sure, it's not really in the spirit of this run since we're using a literal nuclear sword, but I really do not care. These robots have been giving me nothing but trouble this whole run. I deserve to slaughter them like animals. Unfortunately, this isn't meant to last, as Las Catrinas go ahead and neuter the nuclear sword, meaning the rest of this run has to be legitimate again. God damn it. Next is getting the band back together. Unfortunately, not the Phineas and Ferb episode, and a pretty uneventful level at the same time. First, we have to rescue Wendy from the water, since she's a pirate that can't swim for some reason. Not much to talk about here, just keep the OD off the harpoons and try not to die. It's slow, but not really difficult. Then I go get some drums for Forkim, realize that I ain't got rhythm while bouncing on the drums, and kill a lot of OD with no effort. Lastly, we go get our lead singer, King Buzzo, and it's just more traversal. I'm sure there's a lot of people freaking out over this guy-like player, but I'm uncultured swine, so I don't really care. Moving on to Concert-Pocalypse, a very difficult mission that I was stupidly unprepared for. I obviously didn't set any traps, but I also unknowingly went in with only 11 ammo. Considering I'd have to survive 2 minutes of some of the highest OD pressure the game could throw my way, I was very stupid to jump in like I did. Yet somehow, I was able to get past it. I was able to keep a single fuse box alive during phase 1, so I got the checkpoints, but no ammo refill. And when I lost and got the checkpoint back, I only got 8 shots. But I did get all 3 fuse boxes back, and the barriers. And honestly, the rest of this mission just boiled down to camping the bottom 2 fuse boxes and stopping any OD before they could attack them. In fact, camping one would generally attract all of the OD to you, meaning they'll never attack the other box. Also, there's apparently a herker in this level. Didn't even see him once. This mission should have been way harder, but it was honestly the most cheesable one I've had to deal with.
Cheese.
And last, but by absolutely no means least, we have This Ends Here. And holy Mary, Mother of Joseph, this mission should have been impossible. It is a very confined area with absolutely no traps or environmental hazards that's flooded to the brim with Physcobots. This was one of the most difficult things I've had to do for a challenge, right up there with no glide GCPD sewers. But good lord was this fun. How this mission at least starts is that you have to clear out groups of robots from 4 different areas, basically just saving each faction you've come to befriend. After each section, you get a little bit of help from some of your friends. After clearing one out, Brokream comes in with his own tank bot suit and starts wreaking havoc on the bots. At least, I think he does. I really don't know how effective he is since I'm too focused on killing bots myself. And he ends up leaving way too early for me to say if he really does anything. But after saving a second faction, Las Catrinas come in, and they are far more useful. They can basically Oko Fisco bots without batting an eye, and I'm pretty sure they stay there the whole time. They make it the last few sections actually possible. But enough about the help I get, on to talking about the actual sections themselves. They are dang near impossible. You have to clear upwards of 10 to 15 robots per skirmish, generally in pretty confined areas. And even in areas that are more open, the empty space to robot ratio is far more in the mechanical overlord's favor, meaning they can close gaps and kill you very quickly. On my winning attempt, I first cleared out the Fargarthian skirmish in the center of the plaza. It was the most open and had the most space for me to run away if things got hairy, which they generally did. My robot killing strategy remained pretty much unchanged. Dash in with a shot, maybe slam if you can, then just go ham on the B button for melee swings, hoping their allies don't notice and kill you. I was able to get them freed, but that brought about a revelation about this arena I wasn't too fond of. There are basically no ammo or health pickups in this area, meaning you just have to keep killing bots and hope they drop what you need. They're generally pretty good about dropping health when you need it, but ammo is a rarity. After clearing out the Fargarth skirmish, I just kinda ran around trying to kill robots and not die. I didn't really focus on one particular area since not moving is a one-way ticket to death and a restart. After clearing 3 skirmishes, I was out of ammo and low on health, so I ran to the edge of the mission area to grab some crates intended to be used for when you grab the harpoons. But I needed them now because the tank bots were spawning in. Yes, you heard me right, tank bots. As in, more than one at once. Now, with my very limited ammo and health, and a crap ton of Physcopods still in the plaza, I had to take down 2 tank bots by myself. And somehow I was able to do it. I don't even know what I was doing, I guess I was just in the zone while playing, but I think my strategy was to focus fire on a single bot to take it down and get it out of my hair, instead of trying to balance both of them at once. And that really helped, because that would also mean that only one of the tanks would focus on me in return, so I would have less to dodge. Also, and I really don't understand this, but the second tank bot took stupid amounts of damage from my attacks. Almost like taking its brother out cut its defense in half. Like, really, look at this, it goes down in 4 shots. Confused I am, but satisfied am I, because it means I'm nearly done with this mission. This winning attempt took over 15 minutes. I normally clear this level in less than 3, so this was a rude awakening. Especially after a previous 15 minutes of horribly failed attempts. But taking out that tank bot means the rest of this mission is a victory lap. You don't even have to take the harpoons the crew sets up for you because it's so much faster to just climb the building the bottle's on. Smack the bottle a bit, watch one of the greatest cutscenes in gaming history, and it's time for the final boss, the building. But again, it's pretty much just a victory lap. There are a bunch of bots patrolling the city, but they pose literally no threat because we don't have to kill them. Climbing the building is as easy as ever, and the compensator does some pretty good damage to the core. Rinse and repeat 3 times, and the building goes down, meaning this run is complete. Time for the DreamWorks-style dance party, which glitched out and had no music for some reason. Seriously, this game is more buggy than Arkham Origins.
Now that is how you end a game.
And roll credits. Honestly, I have no idea what to call this challenge. It was amazing to play Sunset Overdrive again, but I can't tell if it was more or less fun than a regular playthrough. On the one hand, it was far more difficult than a regular playthrough since you're limited to a single gun and no crazy upgrades. And that challenge let me kinda experience the game for the first time again. However, on the other hand, the stupidly zany nature of Sunset Overdrive was just completely missing. I miss blowing up a horde of OD with a single TN Teddy, or zapping Fizzbots from a distance with a zapper, or literally two-shotting Herkers with my powered-up slam. And I especially miss the wild effects of amps. I don't really know. It was just different. If you want a more challenging Sunset Overdrive experience, because let's face it, the base game is easier than Electrocutioner, definitely give this challenge a go. I can at least promise that it'll make you miss your loadout all the more. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you later, chaps.